Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I thought I would do the next step. We took the engine out last time I saw you with wheel. That went real smoothly, so I thought what I'm going to do is try and do a series of everything to do with the engine bay, you know, the dressing of it, the welding repairs, everything I'm going to do in the welding repair of the engine bay and bring it up to snuff. I'm going to keep a kind of a series of videos, so that's the goal anyway, so we'll section it out like that. So the engine's out, and I'm going to take you over, give you a quick review of all the way around the engine. As you know, if you've listened to the previous videos, you know that the reason we came out the front, couldn't remove the exhaust manifold safely without breaking studs, because of it needs to be removed to drop it out the bottom, and so we opted to bring it out the front. Now the engine is completely accessible. I can safely take the engine, the exhaust manifold bolts out safely, because I've got so much more room and ability to move around it. First things first, I'm going to show you around the engine bay and show you what I've done already, what I've discovered, what repairs to be done that I didn't know about. Not a big deal, but okay, let me show you what I've been up to. The other night when I started to take all these wires and brackets and throttle linkages out, I actually shot a video just kind of literally talking to myself, talking my way from the passenger side all the way round, taking all these things off so that we know where everything goes back and which way it's orientated and all that good stuff. So let's start off with the tunnel here. You can see that darkness there. Now that is a reaction to some acid phosphate spray that I sprayed on there to counteract some slight rust pitting. It's mainly surface rust there where it started to pit the metal, so I cleaned all that up and shot it with acid etch. But what I did notice, and it's very difficult to see on this side, and I'll have to take you on the inside, but there is some very tiny pinholes here. So actually they may be up in this region, but I can't see them from this side. What I'm going to do is obviously locate them and cut that whole section out that needs to be, and replace it with good metal. It's pretty easy access point here, so that shouldn't be a big deal. All the subframe is good and solid. Tiny little bit of pitting there, not an issue. This is the access panel for the starter motor removal if you ever need to get to the starter motor. Now what I did notice on the group, on Facebook group, I did talk to Aaron and a few others about what kind of finish to put on the underside. Now there's obviously a lot of contention about rubberized undercoating, all that good stuff, and all that subject. But as you can see on here, what they've done a textured finish up to this point when it hits up to this flatter area, and that's just smooth paint. So all the texture was from here downwards by the looks of it. And I'm going to clean inside this tunnel because what Aaron was telling me is that all of the cars had this it's kind of a sandy colored sealer, and a lot of this white was kind of an overspray on the underside of the car. So this is a good way of finding out what we've got going on under there. You can definitely see the overspray from when they sprayed the engine compartment. So that's one thing. So I'll be trying to recreate that texture as close as possible. Okay, so we're on this side. So up here we removed the sound wall deadening thing. We were able to scrape that off gently. Duke told me to just be gentle with it, and it scraped off pretty easily and pretty complete. The actual surface is in very good shape. Little bit of the padding is left here, but not a big deal. So I would like to actually reuse it because it's in pretty reasonable shape. Some of these rubbers and things are obviously dried up. This is the time to obviously replace all this stuff. This is the heating, you know, the heating tubes that go into the heater matrix on the inside there. This is the bracket for the electrical hookup, throttle pivot point here. I noticed there's a little denting here. Little unusual there. I'm wondering whether this engine's been out before and it took a strike as it was coming out and no one bothered to straighten it. So I'm going to try and straighten that down. That is there's a little lip there as well. It's the water hose, you know, for the windscreen washer. Now there's a bunch of wires here and fuse boxes, so I bagged them up in a bag so I can move them out of the way. All the AC lines here. Now this is an area I really wanted to pay special attention to. This is where the battery is, obviously, and battery acid spilling and then kind of pooling in this area. And if there's a drain hole down here, if that gets blocked, it's a real rust prone area. Now all of this area is good. There's a little bit of old seam sealer I'm going to get rid of, but if you notice, look at the back there, look at that, see that pitting and those two holes there? A little bit of a tricky area to get to, but I'm going to cut those out and put fresh metal in there. It's a little tricky because it's there's a lap joint right here, so I'm going to brainstorm how to get that all cut out. But obviously what's happened is moisture, leaves and stuff that's gathered in that area from over the years, and finally the water's burst through, and that is brought into the cabin and then started to attack that inner rocker that we repaired all that time ago. So we've obviously got to take care of that. So that's that, and I think partially part of that was hidden under the sound deadening. So you can see the corner of the valley there. I haven't got to cleaning all out the corners yet, but you can see the metal is coming up pretty good. I gave it a preliminary clean. Obviously I haven't hit all the corners and all the details yet. You see, up to this point, obviously I've got to get in all here, and that's the point where we're going to chop that bad repair out, make good all this, get that all tip top. So I won't bother showing you at the front because we've talked about that. So all the metal seems to be in really nice shape. I've been using a stripper disc from Scotch-Brite. It's been working really nice, and a wire brush to get into all the corners. So over to this side, this is the throttle linkage. Obviously the oil pressure line and coolant line come out here. Bit of sound deadening still there. Got to take off the windshield wiper motor. I haven't folded all these back yet, but I'm going to bag everything up, and so it can be folded out the way a lot easier. This area seems to be very good, just really filthy. No rust holes. There is one rust hole back here that I'm going to take care of that I already knew about. Now down here, this was all covered in power steering fluid, so all this got really preserved basically, so I cleaned all that off and there's no evidence of rust anywhere there. I'm just going to take all this back down to bare metal and it'll get all repainted. So my idea is to use this area here as my cut-off point, work all in the engine bay to the point of getting it to an epoxy primer so it's sealed off from the atmosphere, and then I can move on further back. I'm going to start doing my rust repair and working my way back. I just feel what's nice to get something accomplished, you know, something where you see some movement, and having all this in white epoxy primer really, you know, really makes stand out and give you some fire, you know. So I'm going to replace the speedometer cable and various rubbers and grommets and that are easy as pie to replace when now that we've got all this exposed. This is the other side of the steering box. What I note here is there's a reinforcement plate on the inside here, obviously factory done, because this bolt ends up being very close to the outer edge. I'm assuming they reinforced that. Maybe just on the 6.3, I don't know. I don't know whether it's on the 4.5 or not. These are all the cut-off points to the air lines. All of these lines back I'm going to replace. The ones forward of this are in perfectly good shape. I'm just going to clean and refit them. All these brackets with the rubbers, they'll get all replaced, and these brackets, for instance, I'm going to replate all those in yellow chromate. That should look nice. This is the fuel line, and then we've bent out the return line is over there. This one is the rear brake line, just dangling in there. I'm going to replace that one all the way back, because why not? That is the cable for the handbrake. And all the way around here to our repair that we know about. Okay, let me jump out of here. So now you've got the engine out, you can really make some headway. It seemed like that was the big hurdle to get by, and now I'm going to really press on with this. And what I'm going to do, I spoke about it in the group, I think, is that try and get some things really completed out. I want to get the subframe completely assembled now, everything back together, ready for it to literally be fitted into the car. And that's in the other room out there. And then also that goes for the rear axle. Get all the seals and all the relevant bushings and things that need to, and all painted, ready to roll. Then the next thing is to do this engine bay, welded up, ready to roll, and ready for the engine back in. We'll do a little walk around for you. Obviously the main pulley here, water pump, thermostat, all the throttle body here, keep everything covered. Massive intakes, obviously I got the distributor covered nicely. Working our way around here. I took the engine mount brackets off just to help me when I was taking them out. Obviously I'm going to remount those when it goes on its engine stand. Here's the manifold. You can see the bolts are out. This one I left in for the moment, just finger tight, because when I release the lower one I don't want the manifold crashing to the ground. Down here is where the starter motor goes. Let me go around the other side. On the rear here, I do have the, like I say, some of the records. New flex plate that was fitted some years ago, but didn't do many miles after that point. I did notice one of the mount bolts on the transmission was not even there, and this one either was not tightened up properly or started to back out. I'm starting to think possibly it wasn't tightened up properly, because the access back here when the engine's in the car is close to zero. I did talk to Oliver, and from my understanding what he was saying, he likes to put the transmission in first, then bring the engine, and then mate them together inside the car. And I'm thinking I could see that where you could move the engine as far forward as possible, do all your bolting, and then slide it back. But you guys let me know about that. Obviously you've got your cold start valves here, one of which I've got to, well obviously I'll check them both, but make sure they're operating correctly. And again, any tips on that would be awesome. All of the hoses obviously will get replaced. Here's the main harness plug, which is really neat. Just plug straight in the firewall, just like that. Obviously our exhaust manifold will be getting those nuts out, which will be a lot easier now it's out. Overall it's actually in pretty clean shape. There was a lot of debris and oil and crap all down here that I've cleaned out. So like I say, I'm not going to go very far on the engine at the moment because I want to try and complete some jobs to see some progress here, you know. So there's nothing wrong with just leaving this for a while. I might just give it a cosmetic clean, you know, clean everything off and grime off, because if we do end up having to open it up more, you don't want any grime going into the engine anyway. Here is on the side of the transmission here, all the linkages, the wires here that attach here and then attach inside the car. A little servo unit there. Let me know what that thing is actually. Is that some kind of kick down switch? Maybe that is, that's a kick down I think, but correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't seem to be, I looked underneath, doesn't seem to appear any major leaks or anything, no weeping at the back here, but that seal I will be replacing because why not, it's right there. Any tips on that would be awesome. I did talk to Duke about the rear main seal. Now I've had people say replace the rear main seal, but Duke's experience of the rear main seal on the 6.3 has been very problematic. Apparently the original seals are no longer available, and what is available today gave him a lot of problems. But any tips on that would be awesome. I don't want to open up a can of worms here if it's not leaking, put it that way. And what I do intend doing right now is to get the engine on the stand, get everything, get all the oil in it, make sure everything's tip top, obviously disconnected from firing, and do a compression test, give it a crank, test all the compressions. And if I've got good compressions across all 8 cylinders, I'm not going to go tearing into it unnecessarily. I'll obviously do valve adjustments to make sure, but if it appears to be in good shape, it's staying like this. The fuel injection pump, I'll get to that when I get to it, as far as tips and what I should do with that. Fuel regulator, I believe. This goes into the fuel filter housing, and then the banjo on the one coming from the tank goes into the fuel filter housing. Obviously a giant oil filter housing here. Transmission cooling lines. Everything seems to be, it looks like there's some gasket material here, so it looks like the pump may have been done not too long back. All of these hard to get to lines, I'm definitely going to be changing out when it comes to it. These look like original Mercedes Mercedes brackets here. Got this Mercedes symbol on there, which is nice. Okay, hopefully you can see that. I've got a light strapped to the tripod, which is a little tricky area to get the camera into. But here is the nut here. Now it's a 12mm nut on a stud, obviously going into the cylinder head. And as you can imagine, all the frame is close, and and you know, doing it inside the car, that's no fun, is it? So, and higher risk to screw something up. So this is a fairly straight shot socket on this guy. This is a 6-point socket I've got on here. Okay, so that is that. So we'll remove that for a minute. And what I've got is a high pump sprayer here. We'll introduce a lot of water very quickly. So let's get some heat on that guy and see what happens, shall we? Oh, we're going to heat it up quite a lot. We've got a lot of heat on that now. So what we're going to do is chill it off really quick, kind of shock the bolt, you know, the nut I should say, and see what we can do here. I'm doing it very gently, giving it a kind of a shock and going back and forth. Tightening and loosening it very just gently each way. I think we've cracked it. There you go. Oh no, that sheared that one. What a bugger. That did shear, ended up shearing. So okay, well that's two we got to do, isn't it? So that didn't go exactly as planned, but okay, that's all right. We've got another experiment to do, haven't we? We've got 2 studs here, actually 3 studs. I think they just need heating up, and we can get those out, I'm pretty sure. I was pretty successful on all the other 4. Let's get some heat on that guy. Alright, what I want to do is give it a few raps. And cool it down rapidly. And heat it up again. That's what I'm doing anyway. I think after a lot of patience we may have got it. The thing is, you see, I don't want to chew up the stub so much I couldn't get any purchase on it, you see, so I was introducing heat and cold, a bit of PB blaster, heat and cold, and just tapping it, you know. Introduce more PB blaster, work its way up the thread. Also, I'm kind of pushing slightly. I know it sounds a little weird, but it tends to relieve the thread a little bit and help work that PB blaster up there. I've definitely got it moving, and I am going to take my sweet time on this. I'm not doing a lot of strength that way or that way. I like to say I'm pushing to get kind of relieve that bolt as much as possible. Hopefully the other side won't give me so much trouble. I'm very careful on that. Introduce a lot of heat, and the same method, shocking it and cold heat, shock cold, you know, seems to do the trick. I think we're good to turn. I'm so spooked it's going to break. Just there we go, lovely job, all the way out. There you go, that mess. Let's see if we can see it on camera there. There you go. One there. That looks like a grade 8 bolt, that one, but I don't think these other are grade 8, so I'll definitely be using a better grade bolt and put some you know, thread protector or whatever you put on those. So they're all out. Well, thanks a lot for watching, guys. That was a bit of a pain in the butt to do. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video, where we'll probably hit the other side, or we will oh, actually we'll press on with the repairs to the inside of the car, inside of the engine bay. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.